Hey there everybody, it's Wayne D. Welcome to the website, it's WayneD.com. And today we're going to take a peek at two of the top women golfers in the world, Nelly Korda and S.H. Park. Both played very well. Neither won at the KPMG at Hazeltine, but both were, I think, in the top 3 or 4. So as I was watching a little bit, I was struck by how nice these golf swings looked, so I wanted to see if I could find some good footage and take a look at these swings. So Nelly Korda is, both these players were rookies in 17, so they've got 1 year under their belts here. Nelly Korda's 5'10", Park is 5'6". Park, interestingly enough, averages, or last year averaged a little 269 off the tee, and Korda averaged 263. Two of the longer hitters out there. Park hit a few more greens than Reg, and just had generally a little better stats, and finished up a little ahead of Nelly in the overall standings in the money list. But look how similar these two golf swings are. So both are really built nicely for golf, thin but strong. One thing I noticed at address, this is something that I like to tell people. We've got no evidence of anything that's retracted back, so that the shoulders are extended forward. The arms look like they've got nice hang downward pressure here, so we've got that rounded look up in the shoulders. I think that's important when it comes to extending into the backswing. The postures are both angled and excellent here. Light knee flex, maybe a touch more for Park. Arms, like I said, pretty much hanging nicely, but not in. Slightly out. By out, I mean just slightly out. So if we watch the takeaway, Korda has a takeaway rehearsal, so you can see she's working one piece. The club face is not rotating overtly to start with, and as she does that, you'll see there's pretty much zero movement in the hips. So that's strictly an upper body one piece takeaway rehearsal. So if we watch Park take it away, that's pretty much a hallmark of modern players. Is, I mean, if you go back a huge number of years, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, you'll see a lot more inside the plane takeaways. Now we're going to get the club more up on plane. You can see Korda's practicing that too. So they're not perfect camera angles, but they're pretty good. It just gives us a view of how the club is going back. I mean, that's obviously something that both of these players have worked on. We get the club up the plane, and when we look at the right arm action in the backswing, we'll see both of them keep the right arm in front of them quite a bit. So not a lot of flare in the right arm, which I think, if you've got the trunk mobility, is really a good idea. If we watch the takeaway, remember how Korda did her rehearsal with no hip movement, and then, as you can see, when she starts it back, the hips are going to move almost simultaneous. And if you watch Park, you're going to see pretty much the same thing. So no overt restriction in the lower body as we go back. So as we get to the top, you'll see Park has a little more depth back in that right leg, but in the downswing, and again, this cameras aren't perfect, but whoever was taking these pictures was stable. I think that's because when they use the shot tracer, they have to stabilize the camera. So let's watch the movement in relation to the box, so you can see a little bit of added depth there for Park. Korda pretty much stays right on the box line, and when she comes down, the right cheek stays on the line and the left cheek will run right up against it. You can see that. And the right leg is only barely in front of the box, and when we finish, we're pretty much back in there. So when you see a thin player without a lot of knee flex, you can expect the knees to get just slightly out in front of the box. And then when you watch Park in transition, you can see similarly the knees just barely poking out with the butt still on the line. Park's right leg has tendency to push a little bit more forward. And since she's set up a little closer to the ball, that's going to make her right arm look a little bit more back across her side a little bit. And then if you look at Korda, when she comes down, that right arm has a ton of space in front of her body. So if we take a look at the other factor, when you look at that hip box, you also want to be mindful of what the upper trunk is doing as far as staying out over the ball, because that's what's going to create that space and maintain that posture. So if you look at Korda, that's just perfect. Now take a look at Park. It's a little different there. So you see Park's got that little bit of a backup move, and again, when the body moves back this way, the right arm is going to appear a little more into the side. And then on the way by, you see a beautiful release to the left. Now this is a big difference in these two. If you look at the left arm extension of Park here, now you really need some upper thoracic flexibility there to get all the way to there with the left arm straight. That's pretty crazy. Be nice. Korda lets her arm fold here. But again, if we watch these swings at regular speed, you can see it's pretty similar as far as the tempo goes. So I like both of these swings. Park is leading actually this week too. So let's go to a little different swing. Here we have swing on the par 3, and I think they're both hitting 9 irons. So I really like this when Park takes it back. Watch the head. So I've always been a big fan of loading and compressing into the ground, adding right hip flexion, maintaining right knee bend. She does that great. And then a little more lowering as she finds the ground to get the right hip to change direction and drive the hip somewhat forward. We watch watch Korda, you're going to see pretty much the same idea. There's a little bit of compressing into the ground in the backswing here. And then again, another little bit of down as she uses the force against the ground to propel her forward. So she's got the forward push off the right, and then she's got the foot torque going this way to open up the hips. Same thing with Park. Get a lot of room for the arms. Hips nice and deep. And you can see Korda's going to look like she's out over the ball a little more, and in fact she is, because Park has that little bit of more of a backup. And then one more swing from the driver. So both these players are hitting the ball at 151 or 2 miles an hour ball speed, and that is that's exactly what I've been getting. So if I went out to play with these two, we'd be hitting at the same distance, although they'd probably hit more fairways than me. So anyway, these girls can great golf swings, and they can really hit the ball, so it's fun to watch.